Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. You should also take a respectful pause, because Revere was flanked by the great William Dawes. In Arlington, huzzahs were boldly uttered, they say, because it was none other than our town's Patriots' Day, a time to celebrate the redcoats vexed. We have the latest, because our news is next.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to, giving you stories that count from people who care, dedicated, determined, dependable. This is ACMi News.
Housing Corporation of Arlington has a new executive director. Hello, I'm Devin Estefano.
And I'm Animo Osmani. We'll get to that story in a minute, but first, Arlington is still talking about Patriots Day 2022 in town. Even though the pandemic rained on any chance of a parade this year, hundreds of residents came out to celebrate our storied past with the help of Paul Revere and William Dawes. That report is coming in just a moment.
The Patriot of another kind was at Suffolk University this week. Pats QB Mac Jones fielded some pointed questions from students. We'll tell you what he had to say.
And we go to Kyiv, Ukraine for an update from a PR specialist who is dedicating her time debunking bogus propaganda coming out of Russia. It is indeed a full-time job.
Now to our top story. Housing Corporation of Arlington has someone new at the helm.
According to Your Arlington, Erica Shores will be working at the nonprofit to advance the cause of affordable housing and community development in Arlington. Shores comes to Arlington after nearly 4 years as a project director for the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority. The HCA has been without an executive director since June 2021. The Housing Corporation of Arlington provides affordable housing for low and moderate income families and individuals in Arlington and surrounding communities, while promoting social and economic diversity. Ms. Shores' first day on the job is set for May 11th.
You may want to take your ride to Ryder Street this week. Arlington's Police Department will be providing a bicycle safety demonstration at the DPW's Bike Donation Bonanza on Saturday, April 30th. The event is part of Arlington's Eco Week. Police will be demonstrating safe riding techniques for bicyclists and proper maintenance for their ride so they can enjoy safe biking for years to come. The demonstration is set for noon to 4 p.m. at the Reuse and Recycling Center at 33 Ryder Street. Arlington's Eco Week is set for April 22nd to May 10th and is a series of events that will offer an opportunity for residents to learn more about environmental justice. For a full listing of Eco Week events, just go to the town website, arlingtonma.gov/EcoWeek.
Arlington's PD and the Department of Health and Human Services have officially announced the hiring of Thomas Casavaro as the police department's new recovery specialist. Casavaro, an AHS grad, will help enhance the department's capacity to support those living with substance abuse by putting them in touch with recovery services. Casavaro is now in long-term sobriety following 20 years of active addiction himself. He knows the pitfalls of alcohol and drug use. He began experimenting with drugs at a young age, which led to incarceration. Casavaro will be reaching out to the family and support network of someone who experiences an adverse event and develop plans to recover depending on the person's needs and their willingness to change. Casavaro started in this new position earlier this month. Even though the pandemic put a damper on a Patriots Day parade this year, that clearly did not stop area folks from coming out and celebrating Patriots Day in Arlington.
ACMi News Director Jeff Barnes says no redcoats showed up this year, but hundreds of celebrants turned out to see Paul Revere and William Dawes gallop through the town, much like they did in 1775.
Welcome to Patriots Day in Arlington 2022. Now, there is no parade this year due to this wretched pandemic. However, it's a sunny day. People are out in front of Town Hall. We have Dell's Lemonade. We have a lot of popcorn. And in just a few minutes, we're going to have a 287-year-old Paul Revere and a 277-year-old William Dawes Jr. riding by on the way to Lexington Concord to warn the people that indeed those regulars are coming. Roughly 500 people turned out on this magnificent sunny day to greet two of America's favorite sons. 247 years after Paul Revere and William Dawes galloped down what is now Mass Ave to warn residents that the dreaded regulars were marching to Lexington and Concord with the intention of seizing a cache of weapons and supplies, and also likely taking John Hancock and Samuel Adams prisoner. That pair was hanging out in nearby Lexington that very night. That's pretty cheeky of the Brits if you ask us. But before we get to that and greet our heroes, the Arlington townsfolk fuel themselves with popcorn and lemonade in the year of our Lord 2022 and recall the tale of that blustery April night more than 2 centuries ago, a night that changed everything, a night that the village of Menotomy, now modern-day Arlington, can share with the world.
Sometimes we become the little brother or little sister of our neighboring towns in Concord and Lexington. But in the past couple of years, we've really done a lot of work to restore some of our historical treasures to help try to generate some a buzz around the Arlington and get people visiting in town and certainly patronizing our businesses, but seeing the history that Arlington has. And even for a lot of residents that live here, they don't know everything that Arlington has to offer from a historical standpoint. And it's good to have events like this that help highlight that.
It was a great day in our history, and now everybody's a beautiful day and everybody's celebrating.
It's really nice and I like it.
What do you like so much about it?
I love horses.
Paul Revere would be 287 years old. William Dawes would be 277, and you're about to see them.
Wow, I can't believe this. It's like really fun, yeah.
What's the best part you enjoy?
I don't know, I just like being out.
I'll bet. How about you?
I really like the scavenger hunt and all the activities to do.
You think it's really cool that Paul Revere and William Dawes are going to show up here?
Yeah, really cool.
How about you? What do you think?
I like all the animals. I literally love art and crafts. I am a goddess. I love my life.
Everyone here can relate. With the sun splashing down on this glorious day, these Americans celebrate our patriotic ancestors with a star-spangled fervor and intensity.
Since coming up from the pandemic, where this event has not happened the past 2 years, it's great to have so many people return to the town hall to greet Paul Revere, to greet William Dawes on their ride. And it's, cities like Medford are doing it as well. There are events happening all across this corridor.
And that includes Concord, the end of the line. Revere and Dawes' primary objective was to contact Samuel Adams and John Hancock in Lexington, roughly 4 miles away from here, from Concord, where I am. It appeared they were given a fairly specific message, probably a written message, to deliver to the Patriot leaders. Now, in addition, the 2 riders were to alarm the countryside in villages like Menotomy, modern-day Arlington, on their way to deliver the crucial information to Hancock and Adams. A third objective was also certainly to continue on to Concord here to verify that the colony stores, provisions, powder, ammunition, and cannon for the Massachusetts militia were safely dispersed and hidden.
But here in Arlington, because of the first battle and the history of Menotomy, it makes this day even more special.
We couldn't agree more. And unlike that fabled midnight ride, our rider cantered into the village of Menotomy at high noon to alert men, women, and children alike that King George III's scallywags could not be far behind.
Welcome on to William Dawes from Roxbury, Cambridge. We should be riding right now. Hi, I'm William Dawes. Hey, Paul Revere.
Riding's been very hard.
I left Charlestown soon after 11, and I've been riding hard ever since. We believe they're headed for Concord and our military supplies. We'll be spurring on to Lexington, but first, I want to warn you people of the troop movement to Boston. Grab your muskets! Prepare! Hey, we want to thank you all for coming out today. Lord knows we missed you. It's been a couple of years. Glad you're all here. Glad you didn't forget about us.
Even a prolonged pandemic couldn't make us forget.
We couldn't wait to do it. It's been a long 2 years.
You
Been
look,
a long 2 years.
and now you're Paul Revere?
I'm Paul Revere.
Paul, you're 287 years old.
I am, yeah.
You look good,
Don't
man.
I? Thank you. It's the oats.
How's the ride today with the weather?
Oh, it's been great weather. This is a perfect weather. Perfect. Look at all this turnout everywhere we went. Great turnout.
Great.
So good to get it back into history and teach the people about what happened.
How proud are you to be part of such a historical town, first of all, representing what was a seminal moment in our history?
Very proud, and part of our duty as Monotony Minutemen is to remind everyone, people in Arlington and the worldwide, how overlooked Monotony was during the day, because it's the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and more fatalities on both sides happened here in Monotony than in Lexington and Concord, and people tend to forget that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important for especially folks in Arlington and Massachusetts and the world in general. Remember what we did here and how we stood up against the most mightiest army in the world. I mean, people fear them, and here we are, just townsfolk with our followers and contraband weapons, taking them on, doing pot shots at them.
And those pot shots peppered the Brits because of sound 18th century military intel. Meantime, with the luxury of 21st century information gathering, ACMi tried warning Paul that danger loomed roughly 6 miles to our west-northwest in Lincoln, Mass. Can I give you a little warning? You're going to be arrested a few miles from here. How do you feel about that?
I'm not going to get caught. They won't know. I'm going to sneak. I'm going to sneak right by them.
All right, don't say we didn't warn you. But to be fair, Paul, Bill, and other riders prepared for such an eventuality. The fact that they might be halted at any point was assumed by both Paul Revere and William Dawes Jr., as they were well aware British officers were patrolling the roads that night for the specific purpose of intercepting messengers like themselves. Indeed, this is the spot where Paul Revere was detained by British soldiers, along with William Dawes and another rider that night by the name of Samuel Prescott. Now, Revere was detained by the British, but Prescott and Dawes, they managed to slip away into the darkness of night and continue on with their mission. The alarm system devised by the Patriots and set in motion by Paul Revere and William Dawes weeks before was specifically designed to ensure that the capture of any one rider would not prevent the alarm from being sounded. The mission was simply too important and great to lead to one rider alone, even one as experienced and trustworthy as Paul Revere.
Then I might fall off my horse or something.
Safe travels, Paul. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
1 by land, 2 by sea. They planned it all out weeks ahead. We had our company ourselves were only formed about 2 weeks before the events of April 19th, but other towns were well organized, well ahead of that, from being organized and trained way better than our townsfolk were trained at the time.
'Tis all very well for the children to hear of a midnight ride of Paul Revere, but why should my name be quite forgot? Who rode as boldly and well, God wot?
After a bit of poetic byplay with the Monotony crowd, Dawes and Revere were off to the next village, riding down Mass Ave, and ultimately into history. Their mission obviously was accomplished. Then came the shot heard round the world about 0.6 of a mile from here, and it was game on. The Redcoats were exhausted, tired, incredibly angry as the Colonials put up a very impressive fight. The Lobsterbacks began retreating from Lexington, Concord, towards Boston, once again traipsing through the village of Monotony. Then they came upon the Jason Russell House on Mass Ave, and, well, that's another story. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnes.
And now to an exclusive interview to an international story ACMi News has been following. As the brutality of Vladimir Putin's war rages on in Ukraine, there are roughly 300 journalists doing what they can to stem the tide of Russian disinformation. They call themselves Ukraine PR Army. Among other things, they translate false Russian news items into English and broadcast the truth throughout Eastern Europe. They've become so effective at tamping down Russian propaganda, they're now on Vladimir Putin's radar. ACMi News gets an exclusive update now from Nastia Papandopoulos, the coordinator of the Ukraine PR Army.
And the situation there in general is really dire, with tens of thousands of civilians still trapped there. According to the mayor, more than 20,000 civilians were killed there. So the situation is really dire, and the Russian army is apparently intensifying their assault.
It's now silent here, and not, I mean, in the Kyiv silence. And this silence a little bit scare me, because it feels like something worse even will come. But I really hope that our military defense will do our best, and of course, with the help of the world, we see how the world and also United States help us. So I hope that we will. I'm pretty sure that we will win together with all democratic world.
For Russia and their war in Ukraine, the flagship of their Black Sea fleet has sunk.
Humiliation for Vladimir Putin. Russia saying its largest and most powerful vessel in the Black Sea has sunk. Ukraine said it had hit the Moskva with 2 cruise missiles. Russia only admitted to a fire near its ammunition store. Either way, the ship is gone.
Ukraine always defends its territories. We never went out to other territories, we just defend our territories. So I don't think that we need to believe, and I hope that more people won't believe every lie that Putin says, because now I feel like people in Russia are like brainwashed. I just remember about another fake news that I'm just worried about. That it's the most demonized thing, that our defense, or also Polk Azov, that is being called Nazi. And that's why Russia made this story about Nazi people. But they also call everyone here Nazi people. So I think that we need to understand what is Nazi and what is nationalism. Nazism and nationalism. So I think that Russia make their decisions as Nazis or fascists, and we are like fighting for our defense, for our independence, as it was before.
By sea and on land, Ukrainian forces are preparing for Russia's offensive in the east. Having failed to take Kyiv, Russia is expected to unleash an even deeper fury on the east.
In the world's view, for the most part, it seems as though the Russians really miscalculated the will and tenacity of the Ukrainian military and the people. But when you're desperate, like Putin seems to be at this point, that also can raise concerns as to how brutal this can get. What have you been hearing?
I must say that I'm lucky that I never faced yet any brutal brutal thing to my family or me, but it's really close to us.
It's thought that the Russians want to end this fight by the 9th of May, Russian Victory Day, marking the surrender of Nazi Germany at the end of the Second World War. It's an important date in Russia, and it's marked by a large military parade in Moscow.
Death and destruction is all that is left after the withdrawal of Russian forces from Chernihiv. And what those who survived fear most is that the Russian army might return.
Listen, don't give up on the Ukrainians here. Yes, the Russians are consolidating their forces, but they are the same forces that have demonstrated incompetence for over a month now. The Ukrainians really have an opportunity here to crush the Russian military right inside the borders.
before we let you go, do you have anything you would like to say?
I would love to say thank you for all people who help Ukraine, who help Ukrainians, who donate to Ukrainians. I personally received a lot of donations, and they helped me to help other people. And they are mostly from United States and Canada, and I really appreciate that. I really thankful for all countries that help our refugees from people from Ukraine to stay and keep feeling like at home, because like honestly our Ukrainians are dreaming to come back to Ukraine, so they will come back.
And ACMi News is keeping in touch with Nastya, and we'll have an update from Kyiv as events warrant.
You are invited to tour the new wings of Arlington High School on Saturday, April 30th. Tours will begin and end at the Mass Avenue lobby of the school and will include only the new wings. If you wish to take the tour, you're advised to park near the Mass Ave entrance. The rear entrance on Millbrook Drive will not be open. You may recall this Phase 1 Performing Arts Wing and STEAM wings opened to students in late February. STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. According to Your Arlington, the auditorium is set to open this month. Phase 2 construction is now underway and will last until the fall of 2023, when the new Humanities Wing and District Administration and preschool spaces are scheduled to open. The April 30th tour takes place between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. For more information, just go to ahsbuilding.org. Even though it's the off-season, Patriots quarterback Mac Jones is calling an audible of sorts. He's staging a Q&A at Suffolk University this week. I had a chance to cover the story on campus. There were a lot of interesting questions about Jones and the Pats, and there were even more interesting answers. On Thursday, Patriots quarterback Mac Jones made an appearance at Omni Parker Hotel in downtown Boston to speak with Suffolk University students, and welcomed him the only way they know how. The event was hosted by Suffolk Student Government Association, where tickets were offered for $5. Mac talked about the similar coaching styles of Belichick and Saban, the NFL draft process, and a lighthearted story about a confrontation with the referee during a sorority football game.
Yeah, I did. I was sticking up for my players, and we were in a close game, and the ref made a questionable call, and they ended up asking me to, not talk anymore. So.
He also shared one bit of advice that embodies the Patriot way.
Finish it through, but also dominate it. Don't just finish to finish. I think that was something that I learned.
On my way out, I got to speak with Suffolk students to get their take on Mac Jones.
He's a great guy, very humble, gave a lot of career advice, a lot of great advice, and he's a really cool dude.
I think it's pretty cool that we're able to have a lot of celebrities like that on campus, especially somebody who's so, huge in the community right now, like the Patriots starting quarterback, to come to our little campus, even though it's in the heart of downtown Boston.
For ACMi News, I'm Devin DeStefano. Yeah, it was great speaking with Mac Jones at Suffolk. It was an awesome opportunity. I'm really looking forward to the Patriots season upcoming.
Me too, and it's not the first time Patriots players ended up at Suffolk University, so who knows who might be the next player that ends up at Suffolk. Not a plug-in to apply to my school, that is. That'll do it for this week's edition of ACMi News. Thanks for joining us. I'm Anim Osmani.
And I'm Devin DeStefano. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week. Good night.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.